Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ZA TV. I'm your host Mirdza or Faiz, whatever you would like to call me. And today we have our special guest. Her name is Kimberly. Kimberly, please introduce yourself to the audience that's listening to you right now.
No problem. Thank you, Faiz. Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly, and I am actually, let me recall, I'm actually 25 this year, and I have graduated from my law degree together with your brother, and it was very fun going to the same university with him. Yep. And that's how I ended up here, and at this podcast, actually.
It's amazing how the world just sort of puts everyone together in the same place.
It is.
In a
it
weird
is.
way, right? So it's interesting that you brought that up because today we'll be talking about what it's like to be a Malaysian studying abroad in a very foreign country such as in the UK. Were you at? Yeah.
Yes, I was actually, so basically I did a transfer program. So I completed my 2 years of my degree at Malaysia. And then on my final year, I decided to go to UK to complete my entire law degree. So I was actually there from September 2018 and up until September 2019. So if I could use one word to describe this entire year, I would actually say that it was crazy. It was crazy, but it was actually very fulfilling. Yep. Because like if I were to just like share with you a little bit about my life over there, in a summary, in a statistical manner, I actually did 6 jobs.
Wow. Okay,
And
that's a lot.
internships when I was actually at UK. And then I've also completed, I don't know, I was actively involved in about 6 clubs and societies as well. And I've traveled 6 countries.
That's amazing. So what it's like for for someone who's from so I basically never studied abroad before, and I'm sure there's a lot of Malaysians out there who didn't get the chance or the opportunity to go to it. So for someone who been studying in the UK for nearly about a year, what was it like? How was the you already told me that it was crazy, but when you got there, how did you felt? Were you excited or were you nervous? Because you're basically stepping to a very different world, though.
It was. I mean, you have described it exactly how I was feeling when I actually arrived in UK. And something funny before I dived into some of my experiences in UK. Something funny on when I actually arrived in UK. So I was just wearing a denim jacket at that point. So I departed. I mean, I took my flight from KLIA, and then when I had landed at Birmingham, and eventually took a 3 hours bus ride to reach my university, and it was freezing cold. The moment I landed at Birmingham with that piece of denim jacket, I was like, oh Lord, where's my luggage? Can I actually open up my luggage and get some, something that could keep me warm?
Yeah.
Because that denim jacket was just so thin and it was so freezing cold. And like you mentioned, there was actually quite a lot of anxiety and actually homesick when I actually arrived at UK itself. But thankfully, we actually have a Malaysian society at our university, and those seniors that are over there, they are extremely helpful. Even the university staff, they were extremely helpful and friendly, and it wasn't hard for us to settle in. So I mean, for myself, I think it was quite a good transition. It probably took me about 1 to 2 months before I could actually get used to my surroundings, get used to the university, get used to waking up and seeing Mat Saleh and not like my parents, because I actually live with my parents in Malaysia. Yep. So what you have described was actually really the case that I think a lot of students actually face that when they first landed at a foreign land. A lot of the anxiety actually would creep in, and those seniors, I mean, for those that are actually at UK, really don't underestimate your role as a Malaysian, as a fellow Malaysian. Like seeing another Malaysian at UK is just like seeing your own family.
But that's the case though, because I've encountered some people who are studying abroad as well, and there was sort of like 2 different factions. There were the ones who, just like yourself, would find another Malaysians and try to get along together.
Yep.
And then there's someone who just segregate themselves completely from Malaysia, and then they sort of becoming friends with the locals more. Now, was that the case while you were at UK? Were there some people who are like that as well?
I would say I have a fair share of mixing with the locals because my flatmates was they are all international students, okay, but they are from Germany, Czech Republic, Poland.
It's a lot of diversified,
Yes,
people in
yes,
one room.
it was, and that was actually an amazing experience. Like you really get to. I remember sitting at the kitchen at my accommodation and actually just speaking with my flatmates about each of our countries, culture. But I also enjoy my company with my fellow Malaysians over there. And I decided that I wanted to learn more about UK, like for example, working in UK itself. And that's how I ended up taking 6 jobs.
That's amazing, though. But how is it different, like in terms of the working culture? I'm sure that there's like a huge gap of difference between like how is it like to work here and in the UK. How is it like there, though?
Yes, it is. So perhaps I'll share one of my working experience. So I was actually a student. So one of the first job that I landed myself on was actually becoming my university's student caller. So at that point, they wanted to renovate our old college, which has, I think, over a few hundreds of years of history. And they needed funds to renovate the old college. And so they came up with this project of seeking donations from our alumni. And so I was actually recruited to be one of the callers, and we actually called we actually called the alumni all over the world, and we just asked them, telling them about how's the situation with our university, whether they are interested to donate some money for this meaningful project. And so one of the interesting things that happened when I actually got myself this job was that when I applied for it, I thought it was just maybe like a 5 people job, or let's say it was just a one person job. So I got an email reply after I've applied. I got an email reply, and they say that, okay, so here's your interview slot. Okay, so come at this time at one of the buildings. And so I went. So I went with all feeling excited and don't know what's gonna come, because it's my first time. It's my first time applying for a job at UK. And when I opened the door to the venue, I think there was about like 60 or 70.
That's a lot of candidates just for one slot.
Yes, and the things that was scaring me a little bit was that all of them are international peoples, and most of them are locals. Most of them are local students from over there. So it's like opening to a room and having 70 Matsalis.
I'd be very petrified if I was in your shoes at that time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And the first thought that came to my mind is, should I close up the door and actually leave? Can I leave now? And but then I tried to tell myself that, you know what, since you're here, you got shortlisted. You got shortlisted to, let's go and see what's there for myself. What are they going to ask in the interview? And maybe that's something that I could actually learn and bring back and, gain some new experience. So I remained there. I didn't chicken out. I mean, although as much as I want to, I remained there. And then I went into the interview, and it was actually a group interview.
How many people were there to interview you at the same time?
I think there was about 4 of them, but because there are so many candidates, I think like they separated us into groups. So like a group, it was about 15 candidates.
That's a lot still.
It was still a lot, and 15 candidates, and it was even nerve-wracking when one of the tasks was actually to present in front of everyone. It was actually to present in front of everyone about the things, about the topic that they actually gave it to you, and you actually need to present in front of everyone. And you'll be like, okay, I know English. I'm a Malaysian. I did my education in English, and I've learned English for SPM. I've learned English for my primary school. It's like, it shouldn't be a problem, right?
Speaking of that, and here's to any one of our listeners who are from overseas. If you're ever planning to come to Malaysia, just know that we are very well spoken in the English language, so I don't think there'll be any problem for any of you guys. So sorry to cut you off, so proceed.
No problem. I think that's a really good announcement. Yes, so we were like, okay, so at that point of time, it wasn't really much about not knowing the language, not knowing how to speak English, but it was really about having that confidence and really reassuring yourself that, you know what, just give your best. And even though there are Matsalis, it's okay. They're still human beings. At the end of the day, everyone just have like, both hands, both legs, one head, and it's not so much of a difference. Yeah. So afterwards, they actually shortlisted us to about 15 of us out of that pool of 70 candidates, and then we worked on that project. So that was actually my first job experience, and probably one of the experiences that I'll actually remember for my entire life.
Yeah, of course, it's your first. Your first will always be the most memorable ones ever.
It is.
Yeah. Plus, you actually give it a shot to go to a company, and you with all that amount of candidates, you still managed to get through it. You know what I mean? So I think that is something like a wow factor. I think if I was a student and then you were the ones who's like, you when you mention your seniors who come in, and if you give that kind of words to tell me what you have achieved there, I think I'll be feeling like a bit nervous, but at the same time, it just gives me a bit of a hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so actually, like, perhaps just a piece of advice to anyone that is looking to work in the UK. And don't worry, I mean, like, don't confine yourself to having to think like, I need to work with Malaysians only, or like I perhaps need to work at a Chinese restaurant or somewhere that is, that you share the same common language, etc. It will, trust me, it will actually really be something that gives you very rewarding experience. When I was actually working with them, you really get to see what is their professionalism looking like, and interacting with them. How do they actually speak, and what sort of things do they are they looking at and expecting? And it was, I would say that particular experience actually really helped me a lot to this day. Like for any job interviews that I needed to go in the future, since that interview, I've been telling myself that, you know what, you can actually get through that, and nothing can actually scare you anymore.
Yeah.
And just go for it. And so I was actually quite grateful that I stayed for that interview actually at that point of time.
Speaking of that, I just wanted to know, like, since you've been there and you interact with the locals, have you picked up any like those, slangs that people who are not from there were not used to?
Yes. In fact, that's actually one of the challenge that I needed to overcome, because I'm so sorry if there's any British British audience over that is listening to this podcast, but they really like to use the word "in it."
In it.
Yeah, in it. Like.
So that's not just a stereotype. That they really do that, over there.
No, it's not a stereotype. That is exactly how
God.
they speak, and that is the slang that they actually use. And one thing that you could immediately identify whether they are British or not is they don't like to pronounce the word T.
T.
So
it's absent. As an absent.
Yeah. So let's do a little bit of exercise.
This will be fun. Yeah. And if for those of you guys who are listening, if there are any like UK people, we like to apologize, but we're just having some fun and just try things out. So yeah, let's try to do this. It's gonna be fun.
Right. So, how do you pronounce water?
Water. Okay, this might sound weird, but I watched too much TV when I was a kid, so yeah. But in Malaysian way, water.
Yeah. I
I
got song. Yeah. So when we're there, like they don't quite favor to speak the word letter T.
Yeah.
So water, from a British point, I mean, like how to pronounce it is like water.
Water.
Harry Potter.
So all the YouTube videos about water, that stuff, you actually hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like it's funny, but it was a bit of challenge for me, because like I might speak to some locals. They're like British and like okay. So you kind of know that they're actually speaking like a bottle of water, and but they are silent on the letter
on
T.
the T's. Yeah.
But overall, they do have quite a lot of slangs. You're right. Yeah, they do. And that's actually quite funny. And not to say funny, but it is actually learning about their culture. And that is actually something that it trains me to be open-minded as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, because I think these days when you look at, I think UK as a whole, like I think everywhere it has been more diversified. A lot of people from different regions came in and they became citizens of, became British. And I think there's a lot of like those mix mash between like language, just like the same as how it is in this country. And which I find it to be very beautiful in a way, like how much that influenced the language itself, because I remember like this few videos I watched, and I think they were in South London or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like they always say things like "Big Man Ting," you know. It's Jamaican sort of. I might be wrong, but it sounded very Jamaican. But they kind of mix it up with the locals, and
Yeah.
it becomes like a thing now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying because my uni was actually at Wales. UK is basically comprising of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So I had the opportunity to move to London after I've graduated and completed my graduation
yeah.
at Wales, and so I decided that. Since my visa is going to allow me to remain in the UK until September, I'm going to utilize that time. And it was quite a huge decision that I decided to move to London from Wales for the 2 months remaining. And I actually had an opportunity to work there as well. And that's also when I actually get to see the difference. Like even within UK, different parts of UK, they actually have, different culture.
Right.
And in London, it was actually very international. You actually have people from
Different regions.
yeah. It wasn't so much like London, but it was like an international, arena that you gather everyone, and it was even more eye-opening, I would say. When I was actually at London, I thought that Wales was eye-opening enough for me, but I would say that my time at London was really the experience that actually grew me a lot, and I've matured a lot from that short 2 months, because at that period of 2 months I've actually experienced like 4 jobs and internships, and to a point I was actually working 3 jobs at the same time.
That is exhausting. How do you
Yeah.
manage to juggle the whole thing at once?
So thankfully, I didn't have my education to worry, because I basically have graduated and I've gotten my degree. Education was something that I didn't have to worry, but 3 jobs at the same time. Okay, so perhaps let me just run through a little bit on what was the jobs that I was actually working on. So I was actually a personal assistant to one of the private limited company director, and the boss actually runs bubble tea shops and supermarkets.
Wait, there's bubble tea everywhere in UK now?
Yes,
My
there
God. I mean, Taiwan has got its market on the global scale now. It's so cool.
Yes, it is, and I was like, maybe if I work with him,
Yeah.
I get free bubble tea to drink.
I would take it too. Why not?
That was actually one of my point to convince myself that this is actually not a bad job. You get free bubble tea, you get money, you get
Yeah.
paid, and be like, okay, so that was my first job. And then the second job that I was on is actually being part of the marketing team with one of the project with Quacquarelli Simons. So the QS World University ranking. Like
Yeah.
when you search okay, which university is
It's the
good?
top ones right now. Yeah,
Who's like that number one, and so I actually worked with them for one of their MBA project. Yeah, and the third job that I was on, it was something that I've never known about it before, and it was called as becoming a personal shopper.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the 3 jobs, but of course I had some legal internships and legal attachment as well. But speaking about the PA role, the reason why that experience actually grew me a lot, because not only, becoming a PA, what comes to your mind first?
Personal assistant? Right,
Yeah.
So basically, you're the right-hand person for the one in charge.
Yes, but to your contrary, I was actually wearing quite a lot of different hats when I was working for this particular boss, in a sense that I actually had some chance to even become a cashier, become their promoter, and even learn how to make bubble teas.
Oh, dang.
So
Okay.
I mean, you get to learn how to make bubble teas if,
Yeah.
let's say, you're in Malaysia and you
Right.
decided to just go to one of the bubble tea shop and work there. But that was in UK, and I was like, it never crossed my mind that I would make bubble teas in UK. But yeah, so apart from, so I get to experience really jobs that are with on grounds, but I also handle some of their legal matters.
Not to mention you have all those responsibilities all at once.
Yep.
And if I feel like if you can get through that, especially in a land that you're not familiar with, imagine what it will do for someone if you come back to your home country.
Yes.
It takes a lot.
Yes, that's why I think that 2 months, although it might sound short, like, 2 months is like, what can you do within two
But you
months?
will feel everything.
Yes, and I did a lot
Yeah.
in that 2 months, and that's why at the start of the podcast I was telling you, like, if I were to describe my journey, what was it? It was crazy, and
Crazy.
this
Yeah.
is exactly why I said it was crazy, and yeah, so that was that PA role, and then I've also done the personal shopper. I mean, those roles are not like, you don't have those jobs in Malaysia,
Right.
but it's more towards about, you are a foreigner when you're at UK as an international student. You're a foreigner, and how are you going to survive as a foreigner? You're not familiar with the place, and how are you going to maneuver all those things? I'm not sure whether you have like worked at other states before, and it is quite a familiar. I would say it's quite a same sentiment,
Yeah, in a way.
like
yeah.
like maybe people coming to KL to work, when they are from other states, etc. Yeah. So crazy. Crazy is really the word that I will actually describe my personal journey when I was at UK.
But in your experience, because you went to both Wales and in England, so for someone like me, I'm really keen on knowing, was there like you did mention there was a bit of a difference, but in terms of culture,
Yeah.
how big of a difference is it from Wales? Because I remember I went there as well because for my brother's graduation in
Yeah.
Aber, and everything looked so chilled. Everybody was so friendly, and it wasn't as hectic as it was in London. But was there any like the culture wise? Because like you said, in London it's like a hub of like like a mixture of every different international flavor just mixing into one big bowl.
Yes, it is.
So how was it like? Was it much more easier when you were in Aber, or was it much more easier when you were in London, or was it more hectic? Which one is, either one of those two? Which one, how do you feel about it?
Well, that's actually a really good question, because I actually had a culture shock when I went to London, and when I first I spent most of my time in that year at Aber, and I would say that Aber is such a lovely town.
It is.
Everyone is so
Superbly,
friendly.
yeah.
I mean, I believe when you were there, you'll be like, everyone that's walking on the street that is like a stranger, they're going to smile at you. Some of them might even ask you, like, how's your day? Good morning. And I remember in one of the incidents that my friend had is that she left her wallet or purse at one of the restaurant, and it was closed. I mean, like, everything closed. One thing about Aber is that everything closed at 6 or 5 p.m.
That is so early.
Yeah, so if you're a Malaysian and you go to Aber, a place like Aber, you're not gonna get quite used to it. I mean, in general, UK, most of the shops and most of the, like shopping, there isn't too many shopping malls over there. Like
Okay,
in Aber, I don't think we have even one. I don't think we
But,
have
I
one
mean,
shopping malls.
When I was there, it looks like one of those places in the movies that you see is like, oh, such a green environment. Everyone is so like happy-go-lucky kind of place.
Yes, it was. And yeah, so imagine that I spent most of my time at Aber, where everyone is like so friendly, and like it is less crowded as well.
Yeah.
And you get all the greeneries, you get the sea, you get to enjoy the beach, and that was so different when I actually lived at London. London was basically something like KL, but it was magnified in terms of geography, in terms of land size. It was magnified, and even the population, it was multiplied by, I don't know, maybe
A lot.
yeah, a lot.
Massive. London is
Massive.
super massive, yeah.
And some people might actually come across that people in London are less friendly. So maybe a tips for students that are choosing, like, where do you want to go, which university that you want to go to, taking into consideration on whether you're a city person or you're like like you enjoy a much more quiet place, then you can go for places like Aber. But if let's say you're like a city person, you actually enjoy shopping malls and a lot of a place that is crowded, but it's very. One thing about London is that even though it's very crowded, but their public transports are actually pretty good. I would say that I can get to anywhere with public transport.
And not to mention that, in my experience when I went to both London and Wales, there's one thing I appreciate so much about London, and it's something that I kind of don't like when I was at Aber, was the seagulls.
Oh, thanks.
I remember I bought like an ice cream and I was just wanting to take my first bite, and then all of a sudden something just caught my eye and I turned around, and then all of a sudden I felt like there was a big whoop. And next thing you know,
Where's my
it
ice
says, yeah, where's
cream?
my ice cream? What do you call?
Oh dear. I think that is one of the best experience that you need
If
to.
you haven't seen
Yeah.
a seagull before, yeah, it's a good experience. Yeah.
Well, there isn't much robbery in Eber, but this
By
one robbery
humans.
that we have is by the seagulls. So we actually named them like, they are like daylight robbers.
Yeah, they are.
I remember.
And you can't really arrest them anyways, you know.
Oh, you're right. I mean, like, there's no way that you can arrest them. This is like a criminal that can go scot-free, and there's no way that you can catch them. They are always the winners.
And they fly, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like there was this incident that I actually was holding like my fish and chips. Like going to UK, you need to have fish and chips.
Yes.
And as a student, like I mean, I don't have much like to spend. Like maybe like one fish and chips at that point was probably about £7.
Still very expensive.
Okay,
Yeah.
and remember, I mean, like, can you imagine like £7 just gone just like that by that daylight robber?
Yeah.
It was, oh dear. That's one of the experience that if you want to go to Eber, I think they need to like advertise that you need to beware.
Be wary, yeah.
Beware
There should be a
of
sign
this
there, like
seagull.
seagulls steal your stuff. Be careful, because we didn't get the sign. We didn't know what they were. At first, when we got there, I thought, oh, they look so elegant, so beautiful, and then they just stole the ice cream away from me. And I had so many foul languages that I use on it, so it's like, you little toot. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, we cannot censor this, so I'm just gonna say toot. Just to save up my brother's space.
Yeah, they are. I mean, like, wow. But one thing about at least if you go to London, you don't have this daylight robber. I think like I've never experienced seagulls stealing my food when I was actually at London, but I definitely had more than one time of experience when I was actually at Eber. I'm not sure. Like I think this criminal of seagulls, they're much more brave at Eber compared to London. That's like another difference between London and Eber actually.
Well, we can't do anything anyway because they look like they're basically part of the town. So what makes Aberystwyth, I think, more unique, having seagulls. It's annoying, but it's unique. But in London, I remember when I was, I think when I went there, it was during the summertime. So, but dekat sana, I boleh kata that it was so packed with human beings. I'm not sure whether it was in a school holiday, but especially near what was the name of the watch? Big Ben, was it?
Yeah, the tower, the
tower,
Big Ben tower.
It was surrounded by human beings everywhere, and I felt like it's hard for me to just maneuver from left to right. And but it's a beautiful city, it's like you always see it on TV and you always see it on movies, and then when you got there, it's mesmerizing. But unfortunately, at that time when we were there, I think they had some reconstructions at the Big Ben.
Yes, on the tower. There were some constructions that was going on, and I think that's also like how would I describe London? I mean, personally, although London was very was very crowded with people, particularly summer, people like to come out and enjoy the sun because they don't get a lot of sun in Malaysia.
And they find it weird why we are trying to get away from the sun.
It is. I mean, I'm so not used to the weather at Malaysia. You could probably see that I'm actually, dripping in sweats, drenched in my sweats, etc. And exactly, and people over there, when they see sun, they're like, wow, I must get out. I am not going to stay inside my room. This is the time where I unleash, like all my outdoor activities. I'm going to do all my outdoor activities. But coming back to, I wanted to raise something or share something with you that
Sure.
although London, it's crowded, but it would also mean that there are way more job opportunities in London. And it's definitely much easier if you would like to look for a job. The opportunities over there are much more greater. You have companies, you have a lot of restaurants, commercial places.
Basically have a lot of accessibility when you're in London.
Yes, it was. And that's why it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem for me to, works so many different kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
When I was actually at London, and even their student activities, I remember as a student, I was also quite actively traveling to London to attend most of the student activities, and I remember joining a startup competition, and the grand finals took place at London as well. So I would say that if you are looking towards having like all these opportunities, maybe London is a good place to go for.
I would love to go back to London, or but if I get a chance to work there, I think it's gonna be amazing because you get a chance to work in the capital of United Kingdom. That is so. I will use this term, dope. That's so dope because, for most of us, I think, and I'm speaking just me on my own behalf. Going to London, especially when the main city where everybody knows the place and it's like a hot pot of like humans everywhere, I find it very intimidating. And I think a lot of people from Malaysia who's like, let's say they're from like the countryside, like let's say from Perlis or Terengganu, I think when they go to London, just like us, they're going to have a major culture shock. But what advice would you give to them, especially when they are stepping into this very like vast, like very, very fast, very modern, very, fast-paced world?
Yes.
What advice would you give to them though?
That's actually a really good question, and I learn about that by like going through and making a lot of mistakes. And if I were to be able to give some advice to the audience that are thinking to work in places like London, I would really say that having an open mind, it's extremely important.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you confine yourself with the things that you are only familiar with, and you would actually lose out on a lot of opportunities. But if you go there with an open mind, opportunities are just right there in front of you. It is everywhere, and who knows that you might even set up a business. Set up a business in London, because there are actually a lot of grants that help people to build a startup in UK. And so having an open mind would be the most, I would say personally, I would think it's the most important thing. And secondly, it's to be confident. Be confident that at the end of the day, they are human beings,
right?
And we are human beings as well. And if you have that faith in yourself, that you are good, and you have gone through the same amount of education, and you have that skill sets, don't be afraid in showing them. Just be confident to tell them that, you know what, I actually know how to do this thing. Be it like regardless of your profession, as long as you are confident and you actually have that experience, or even if you don't have that experience, be confident to tell your interviewer that you are ready to learn, you are humble to learn, and you are then able to convince them to consider about you. And so that's actually the second most important advice that I would actually give to anyone that is seeking to work in London. And I think by having these two qualities, you could basically do anything. You can basically do anything and land any job that you actually want to. But in terms of the technicalities, like having a visa, etc., those are the things
only hassle.
Those are the things that you might need to do a little bit of research on. Like as a student, like how many hours can you work in UK? And so basically you can during your term, which means during your schooling days, you can only work about 20 hours per week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can only work about 20 hours per week, and it's not that all jobs that you can actually work on, because they would need you to take on jobs that are, I don't know, there's a list of category. They might have to, the student might have to check on like the website of the immigration. But yeah, I would say these two qualities are actually the most important one.
I think if you can make it in London, you can make it anywhere. It's a buzzing city anyways, so like that's where the economy is from anyway. So, and plus, I don't know, I guess that's a good advice that you could give to people, and I really think that we should sort of like, as Malaysians, should sort of like globalize ourselves elsewhere to sort of make a name for ourselves as well. Now, speaking of that, have you ever like found any local Malaysians who start up their businesses in London as well, or in Aber?
I have. I know a friend's brother that actually set up his business, not at London, not at Aber, but it was at Sheffield.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Alright.
and initially, I actually personally I wanted to work on that startup. So remember that I was sharing with you that I was joining this startup competition at London. So during the final stage, when I was at London, during the final stage of the competition, I actually had the opportunity to pitch to real investors.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I had a panel of actual investors in front of us, and we needed to present to them about our startup ideas, and we presented to them. But I think because that was my final year, so it was a bit hard to continue with it, and also like getting the grant, because I need to. I was really pressured by the fact that my visa is going to
Right.
expire. So I didn't have that opportunity, but perhaps for students that actually go there for 3 years, they could consider applying for those startup grants, and actually really set up a business, because that friend's brother that I was referring to, he actually got the grant from banks, local banks at UK, and he even managed to. I'm not sure whether you watched Dragon's Den.
I've heard of the movie, but I never watched it yet. Oh, wait.
Yeah, that's
It's kind of like it's like
uh,
Shark Tank.
Yeah,
But it's like a
Shark
British
Tank.
version.
Correct,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, so Dragon's Den is like the British version for Shark Tank, and he actually even made it to
Oh,
that stage.
really?
And and to be frank, I mean, like to share with you.
Oh, wait. I think I remember. He was the only Malaysian guy who was like.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, and so he's actually selling chili paste, Malaysian chili paste, authentic sambal chili paste, and he actually set up that business in UK, and he is doing well right now. And really, I mean, like from this experience, you could really see that having an open mind is really important,
Yeah.
because once you have an open mind, there are plenty of opportunities in the UK for you to grab. Yep.
You just need to like you do, just like keep your head up and just move forward rather than just like hesitate. Just go ahead, because I think so far since the starting of this interview, I've noticed that you have this mentality where just go. Don't turn back, just go. And I think that's like a very positive attitude that I think most of us in Malaysia should have, because let's imagine in a world in Malaysia, let's say everybody has that same mindset. How far can we go as a nation to become more progressive than we already are? You know what I mean? So that's a very good mindset, though. I think like if you had the chance to see some of the youngsters who's going abroad, I think it's best that you have a talk with them about this, because it'll change the way they view things. You change the way I view things as well. So it's very cool.
I mean, I'm open to anyone that needs any advice. I mean, I wouldn't say that I actually have the best advice, but it was rather a more personal advice. Like, I've never been to UK before my final year, and it was my first time going to UK, taking a 20 hours flight and finally reaching UK, and it was my first time there. I've never even been to any country other than Singapore and Thailand before my final years of study. So it really doesn't matter that you have never been to this country before, or you were not exposed to it, but it's more towards having an open mind. And like, I particularly love Nike's their logo, just do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so just apply that mindset and just do it. I mean, there's nothing for you to lose. I mean, like, one thing good about us as youngsters, I mean, like as a young adults, is that as long as you don't get involved in like criminal activities,
you're good.
just make sure that you don't involve in that. You're good. Yeah. Like there's nothing for you to lose. But if you were to keep an open mind and you actually want to take that opportunity, trust me, the results is going to be very rewarding.
Yeah, and plus the worst thing that can happen is people saying no. It's not going to be as worse as how most of us would imagine. Also, I have another question for you as well. So here's a funny question though, because I remember some people that came back from overseas, and I had some friends who study abroad, and Australia or in the UK, and I have my sister who's studying at Northern Ireland right now.
Okay.
And I realized that without them even like trying, but it's like that sort of like subconsciously you're speaking like you're from there. Have you ever had that thing? Your parents or anyone just told you, "Oh, why do you talk like this right now?" Have you ever noticed that?
Oh,
Or have you ever had those moments?
Oh dear, I have that problem. Like I don't know, even right now, I'm not sure. I'm trying to be a little bit conscious about that. But I think I have that habit, like whatever that you're saying, that my accent changes according to the person that I actually speak to.
Yeah.
So it might not only be with the British, but if I'm speaking with an like an Australian or like an American, my accent changes. Like even if I remember like that bubble tea shop work that I was working on. My boss was actually Chinese, China Chinese, and I needed to speak Mandarin. That is in a way that he actually understands. I can't speak my Malaysian Chinese.
I understand that because I'm a Chinese speaker as well, and there's a vast difference between how mainland China speaks and us. But I think you would agree with me when I say it's far more easier for us to understand people from Taiwan rather than because they have like in normal countries like in
oh, you're so good. I mean, that's so fluent. I mean, oh dear, yeah, exactly. And I think like some like there's this stereotype that people like hey, you have only been there for like 3 months. How come you came back British?
No,
like you were a Malaysian when you went there. What happened?
No, I mean 3 weeks. I can. It's still justifiable. But when you went there for like a week, that's questionable. Like what? No, because like I remember like certain people like let's say they want cup of tea. It's like it's something that's so normal.
Yeah.
But then the accents sort of pop up without them realizing it, and we can tell who's faking it because there are people in Malaysia who never study abroad who just live there all the while and then they're like, "Mom, so can I go like there?" Like they have that weird accent that came from God knows where. So but you guys are okay because you've been there for like a year plus and stuff like that, and you guys pick up some few slangs that even some of us are not really used to.
Yeah.
So I think that is so unique because it's sort of like they left a mark on you. Like it's like when you go to over anywhere and then the passport they have that stamp or welcome to this country. So that's kind of like what the stamp for you.
Yeah, I mean definitely that's like a souvenir for you to bring back from UK. Be like, yeah, I've learned about British slangs. But one of the things that how I actually perceive about all this like learning about their accent is actually in a sense that you're actually learning about their culture as well. And one important factor, I mean, especially when it comes to working there or in a professional settings, it's that you want people to understand you and you would also want to understand what they're talking. Imagine that you're serving a customer and you'll be like, sorry ma'am, what did you just say? Could you repeat your order? And stuff like that. You'll be like, okay, and you're clueless in understanding what they're talking, even though they're speaking English, they're speaking Chinese, they're speaking Mandarin, but you'll be like, 你说什么? Okay, no. Yeah, so how I see it is that it's funny, but it's also one of the way that Malaysians should really be proud of ourselves, that we learn and we know so many languages, and that is really a super great upper hand that as a Malaysian that you have.
I mean, people in Malaysia don't even realize this, but we sort of use a lot of like borrowed words from each other without them knowing. Like the word tapao is like basically it's from a Chinese word. It's not really a Malay word, and
yes, it is.
And the Indian word is like anne, I think.
Yeah, like we like to call at Mama, we like to call like the waitress. We're not gonna like excuse me, excuse me.
If we see people doing that, we know for sure you're not from here though.
Yeah, and so that's like it's fantastic that language is one of the it's one of the things that you can understand about the culture of that particular place, and being a Malaysian going to UK. You are going to enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know, like how do you find Malaysians speaking English over there, or like do you find it hard to understand their English when you travel there?
Not really, because for me, I'm the kind of person who likes to imitate. So sometimes I watch this comedian. His name is Jimmy Carr. So he did this how to do a Scouse accent.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want some chicken and a can of Coke. I'm going on a rob. I'm going to get a prezi. It's for my grand's birthday. She's 30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I like to copy and imitate. So even though I'm not from there, but then, I'm kind of like trying to adjust myself to hear it. So it wasn't as difficult for me to understand it rather than, let's say, for example, like my other friends or my mom. It probably take them a while to understand, like, like, what? It's like, it's different. Now, speaking of that, do you say water now or you say water?
One thing that I find myself hard to change is that right now, when I dine in at Malaysia, I tend to ask them for tap water. And one day when I went out with my Malaysian friend and I told that, like I told the waitress that I wanted tap water, and
People will be like,
instantly
"Huh?"
I got stares from both ends, my friend and the waitress looking at me like, tap water? Tak ada tap water, nak apa? Air ke?
I think
Yeah, like because because you can't drink tap water in Malaysia, but you can actually drink tap water when you're at UK. Yeah. So that's and there is a difference over there when you actually ask for tap water or like water in general. If you ask for water, they might bring you like a mineral water and they're going to charge you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was so used to saying that I want tap water. Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind when I'm there. Yeah.
Yes. But there's one thing that I definitely don't miss about UK is that, like how the sink in Malaysia, you only have like a tap. I mean, like one head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in UK, you're going to have like two taps. One is with the hot water and one is with the cold water. And that is one thing that until today, I still don't understand why do they practice that.
No, but why is it so necessary to have like cocoa on like at in the sink? I mean it's not like you're taking a shower at the sink anyways. It's bizarre still for me.
Yes, I have no clue. And every morning when I need to brush my teeth, it's gonna be like I'm like those DJ that is like mixing around the hot water and the cold water, and it was, oh my god, that's something that I really don't miss about UK is that creature that having that hot water and that cold water, and the hot water was really hot.
Yeah.
It was not like it was, warm water and the cold water was really cold.
It was boiling.
Well. Yeah. So you really gotta like practice like a DJ, or you gotta bring your own mug and mix the water yourself. So yes, that's something that I really don't miss. I think we have like sway away from sway away a bit too much. But yeah.
I think that's the difference between you. I don't think we really have like any adjustments in our country. It's like a default like temperature in our country.
Yes. So
I think the default makes our lives a lot more easier.
I miss Malaysia a lot because of that, and also like how in Malaysia we have the I think it's called the faucet. I mean the I think it's called the faucet. Yeah, and they don't have that in
UK.
In UK, like most of their toilet bowls, they don't come with the water faucet, and it's just toilet bowl. It's like you're gonna find it hard. Like, okay, yeah. I don't know. Like if the audience is eating and we're talking about this, is kind of like gross for them. But yeah.
Hey, I mean, like you're the one who tuned in right now, so that's not really our problem.
Yes. Yes. So I would really say that my journey was pretty crazy. Taking on 6 jobs, 6 clubs and societies, and one thing that I find it really differently when I was at UK and Malaysia is that did you have a particular clubs or societies that you actually favor?
Back then when I was in uni?
Yeah, when you were in uni.
Okay, I joined in for the sake of just joining in, but I think I was in the martial arts club back then. Yeah, that was but I was only there until like a year or 2, and then I went to performing arts club, not because of anything, but I just want to make new friends, but I never show up for training or anything.
Yeah, so one thing that I really love about the student life over there is that there is like over hundreds of clubs and societies that you could go to within your uni, and it only takes 2 person to set up a club.
Yeah.
So you'll be like, okay, hey, I want to do a podcast, club, or things like that. You only need another friend with you, and you could actually register for the clubs. And I don't know, I was just like that kid that was just so excited that I had over 100 of clubs and societies. And I think one of it that one of it would be the Malaysian society,
Hmm.
and I picked up volleyball
Hmm.
because of one of the sports competition that they were having, and that's why I feel that if you have the opportunity to study abroad, just utilize it fully.
I just feel like your whole experience while you were in UK was very fulfilling as well. It's because you just like make use of everything that you can, which for me, I think like I think with that 1 year, I think you need to extend more than that. You know, just to like make it feel like you're very like I'm from here for so long. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
yeah.
it was, and I didn't have that like I didn't have that thought that I was going to do so much before I go to UK. I just just do it, and that just do it mindset actually landed me with all these experiences that I'm gonna like remember about it like for my entire life. And always when I look back at this 1 year, I'll be like so grateful for myself that I was really grabbing all these opportunities that I actually had, and having an open mind.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, like like you said about opportunities, it's like you just grab anything that you can get, and those things actually made it, so much more than you think. And all the job opportunities you've been through, all the people that you've met, even your housemates, a blend of people from different
Yeah.
parts of Europe. And when you come back, you know how much stories you can tell people. And when you have a lot of interesting things to tell people, you'll be the most fun person in the party. You know what I mean? So, again, kudos. And also, congratulations on
Thank you.
everything that you're going through. Sorry, everything that you went through. Okay. Yeah, congratulations on everything.
Thank you
I'm
for that.
so sorry.
Congratulations. Yes, thank you for having me.
No, please. Thank you for coming here and share with me all your thoughts, and also just to clarify all the stereotypes that we had about UK. At least someone already, clarified for you that the bottled water thing is not. No, it's not. It ain't no stereotype. That thing's real.
Yes, it is real.
And also, thank you so much for giving advice to our future generations, and maybe they can pick up a lot from this podcast, and hopefully it can change, I think, our culture as Malaysians.
Yes.
And again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Faiz.
Thank you, Kimberly, and this is Mirdza from ZA TV signing off.
Bye bye.